Welcome, everyone, to this Welther Series dialogue with Dr. Ulwyn Pierre. This is number 2 of 3, just to give you a placing. We had a chance to get to know Dr. Ulwyn in the first video, and I would encourage you to watch that. But throughout, I've always been hinting that Dr. Ulwyn has created something that I think is of great value for the world. And I've not named it because I think it's something that Dr. Ulwyn needs to name with you. And the 3 elements, or the 3 sections, the 3 parts, we'll figure that out as we go here. So Dr. Ulwyn, what I'm going to do is just ask you, what's this about? You created something, you gave it a name, and then what we'll do is we'll take a look at each of the sections. So just share with us where it came from and what's the name you gave it?
I want to start with answering the question why I created it. And then it helps put it in context. Why I created it, because I was not pleased in the way in which we were being educated. I felt is that we were being learned. We were learned and regurgitating things that we learned without really a true understanding of its benefits, how it could be used, and also giving yourself the opportunity to be creative and expand it into different environments. You know, it was 1 + 1 make 2, and that was it. And it stopped there. And what I started to do as I went through the various parts of my education, I began to make a list of all the things I felt ineffective. All the things that did not sustain learning and application. And when you educate a person, it's not just to solve one problem. There's so many different problems. So there has to be that kind of level of understanding that you bring to the table. So what happened is that after I saw at an early age my father doing that magic, my magic, I wanted to be centered around education of the total human being, and where that person could have freedom of choice. And with that choice became an understanding that they could make transitions to whatever environments that they want to. And I can remember going to a conference. It was a business economics conference, and nothing was said about the human being. And I stared at that sign and I said, but this is not adequate. What about the human being? And I called it human economics. And what I did in order to find a name, because I'm told you have to name everything, I took the hue from the human and the nomics from the economics, and I called it Hunomics. And what it means is to allow yourself to be totally human, tap into your true wealth, tap into the economy of you. And we have to have economic impact because we live in this world and we need money to live. And I wanted it to be something that was holistic and something that when you learned it, you didn't have to understand it per event, but with the understanding of it, you could take it and be creative in any environment. You know, why be being born with all that you need and you could only use a little bit of it? That does not make sense. And therefore, that's how that came about. And what I did is that it's around 5 or 6 years. I did not read any books. I did not want to be influenced. I knew what I wanted to create it because I saw what that end result could look like. And I worked on that. And when I got an opportunity to work in the private sector, I tested it. I used it with my clients. And it was amazing, the transformation. I took them to levels beyond which they ever thought we could achieve. And why did I do that? Is because as human beings, when we see through the lens of possibilities, we see through our perception, we see through our programming, and therefore what we see is distorted and limited. So therefore, when I work with my clients and they want to go from here to here, I help them to go further, because that's the potential that's there, that's being missed by looking through a lens that is distorted.
And I think this is where I'm just going to jump in, because I had mentioned the number 3. There's 3 elements to this, and I think it would be worth just mentioning what the 3 elements are, and then I would like to dive into each one with you, if that's okay. So just a bit of an overview. What are the 3 elements?
The first element is dealing with the individual, the human being, the whole human being. The second one is dealing with issues relative to the companies and businesses. And the third one is living and leaving a legacy. Now, why did I do that? My father was a very powerful human being. I mean, he influenced me tremendously in the things that he did. And then when he died suddenly, he was gone. What did he leave for the next generation? I believe that, giving the privilege of being on earth, we should leave something so that the next generation coming could be better. They don't have to reinvent the wheel or clean up our mess. We should be able to leave that as a gift to the next generation and next generation and their generation. So each one of us has the opportunity to live a better and better and better life. That's why we are here on earth. So that's why I added that third part.
Okay, so then this notion of freedom, true freedom, unfolding a life that has purpose, has movement. You spoke about number 1 as being for the person and the person expressing it. Can you just share a little bit more about that? And then I have a very particular question I want to ask about that, but just give us a little bit more to work with here, okay?
To be more effective at leading others, you have to be effective first at leading yourself. Because if you are not an effective leader, you take your dysfunctional self and you teach from that source. That is not logical. That does not make sense. And one of the things that I found that that's what was happening. So when I'm working with leaders, what I share with them, see about yourself first. Make yourself your number 1 priority, yet not your only priority. Because based within the context of your responsibility, why not shake up the world? Why not have that positive ripple effect on others? So that when you touch 1 person or 2 people, you're touching many. And that was the intention of why I did it that way.
Let's pick up on that intention. This is where the question comes in. What is like a really great example, if you were to share with me something that I could do to get my own movement going from this perspective of my own true freedom? What is it you would suggest to me, which in essence you're suggesting to everyone?
Okay, give me a minute here to think, because I could give you an extreme. Let me not give you an extreme. Would that be okay?
Sure.
Okay. I was asked to speak with, to work with one of the top executives, because what was happening, his team was not performing well, and people wanted to quit the team. but they knew he was brilliant and they did not want to lose him. So they asked me to come in and say, help this person not only and build his team to be a powerful team operating at their true potential, but I want this leader to knock it out of the park. And therefore, what happened, I started to work with him. And what was interesting, he said, but that's not the traditional way. And I told him, well, why would you pay the traditional when you already had it and it did not work? And I had him commit that we are going to take a journey that will have him to be his best self. And I wanted to welcome him back to that journey. It was a journey of adventure into him. So by the time we were finished, he will be operating from a strong platform from which he could do whatever it is that he wants and achieve. He welcomed it because he was a good client. And what I did is that I helped him to understand who this individual that was sitting in front of me is and was born to be, and how to tap into the genius, how to have that work for you. And I gave him challenges because for me, transformation is a lived experience. It's not about having 5 steps and 10 steps and whatever, because I may need 10 steps, but you may need 3. So I helped him to truly understand it so that when he was dealing with his team, he could also explain it to them and have them embrace it. So they not only grew as a team, they grew as individuals as a team, in the team, operating at their true potential, committed to their company's growth and values and strategic objectives, and be proud of what they are delivering.
So let's pick up on that, because you're mentioning the one person who you helped, and you helped the team directly, indirectly. I bet you the Hunomics 2, and you mentioned it, is about the group, the team,
Yes.
the organization. Can you just swing us over to that
Yes.
view of things using the same example and just explain what it is that you do?
Yes. Now remember, I said, in order to lead others, you have to first lead yourself. So when you got him to be able to lead himself, then we transitioned in with the team. That's Hunomics 2. Because the team is producing, has to be productive so that the companies could achieve its profitability, be profitable, be competitive in their industry, to be the person that when the customers hear about them, they say, I want that. I not only like them for what they are producing, but I like them for their values. I like them because they deal with me as a human being. They respect me and they give me the kind of goods and services that I am looking for. And it was just a blast. What happened later on in like a year or 2, because he told me about it, they were downsizing and they were cutting his department, his division. And he wrote me and he says, you know, we really did a good job because they had an opportunity to move other places, but they wanted to stay put. Because what was happening, they were not only helping their company and the company was winning, but they were winning individually and collectively. That's what you want.
So then the work that you do with the team, you meet with the team as a team, or you're meeting each person on the team? What can you just explain that part?
We are, to be a group, we are individuals first.
Yeah.
So we have to express the individuality. So I interviewed each one of them to hear what they wanted for their life. to hear what it is, whether or not they being part of the team and the roles they were in. Is that's what they wanted. Because you see, when you have an individual win and individuals are winning and they're part of the team, it is natural the team will win. And they really appreciated it because what it did, it gave them the respect and that we value their contributions and talked about how it would benefit them, what we are doing.
So in a sense, if I could just, so in a sense, you help them understand their individual freedoms that they could bring together to make the group freedom?
Yes, because when they understood who they really are, it ignited their interests to be a better version of who they are now. And that was done just in my interviewing them and the possibilities that we gave them.
And so then by working with the individual you started with, I'm thinking that person could then hear the words of the team members as well in meetings and understanding that freedom, bringing freedom, collecting the freedom, bringing it together. Am I on to something here? Is that what you were doing?
What we did is that when we brought in, when I brought in after interviewing, and once I brought them into a group, the leader was there. And I introduced him and what the mandate was for the team. And I set the mandate, failure is not an option. Meaningful success is the only option. What that did, it brought the team together very quickly and anchored them. And then what it is, I had him leading, but I was there. So if there were any mistakes or anything, I would add into it, and his reputation and confidence and commitment and the team trusting him became a natural part of the transformation process.
So then in a sense, this human economics, it became more humans economic. It became a shared, and it really played itself out, is that while each person was getting what they needed, the whole group was getting what it needed. This team got what it needed. And therefore you were blending 1 and 2 of Hunomics together.
Yes, but it is not humans economics, because I wanted them to have their own identity. I wanted them to stay whole, yet know that they could be part of the team and yet stay intact.
So human economics,
Yes.
Hunomics, that's where we're going, yes. Okay,
Yeah.
Great. Well, from that element of 1 being with the person, 2 being with a group, team, organization, I know that what we can do is we can go into the next video and unpack this idea of legacy. I appreciate, but before we go over there, there's been a word that's been hanging around in here for me. Okay, you spoke about purpose in the first video, and again, I encourage you to watch the first video, everyone. The second one is the word movement. There's something here about the word movement, and I think you've got something to share because you're hinting at it, but I'd like you to really come out and speak about the notion of movement.
I was looking for a way to bring this to the world, to bring these solutions to the world, because they were tried, they were tested, they were consistently. And I wanted a platform to use that made it easy to bring it to the world. And I decided I will call it a movement. 1, it's the platform, but 2, you have people moving to the better version of themselves. And also when they move to that better version of themselves, they help their company that's also moving forward. So I liked that concept because what it does, there was a flow to it.
And I think that that's important because, and I'm glad that you mentioned, that's why I wanted to bring it up, is because each individual person has their own set of, an appreciation of movement. But there's also this flow of the group, team, organization working together. And often we'll take a word like movement, and I'm sharing this with all the listeners, and we just put it there and say, okay, this is our definition of it. But what you're doing is giving us a bit more flexibility and understanding what this movement is about.
Yes, I am. Because what it is, I wanted what I believe in learning. It's a flow. It's developmental. And I didn't want to have it as module 1, module 2, module 3, module 4. Because I'm taking my clients on a journey of change. It is a lived experience. I experienced it very early in my life where I learned leadership and transformation. And I did not even know I was learning it. It became part of my DNA. And I had flexibility because I saw it in all its different permutations. And I understood essence and substance of what it is. And when you understand essence and substance of what something is, boy, you've got it. You're on the way to achieving whatever you want.
And that's great because for those, again, listening in, Dr. Ulwyn and I over the years have had quite a few conversations, and her ideas around movement that she learned from her private consulting and, from her own years of going through what it is that she has gone through. And now that she's in the, what we call more of a public arena, movement is an essential element. And I would ask you to go back and listen to what she's just shared. And I would encourage you to write some comments below, because we appreciate reading comments. And even if you were to define movement so that we could both read it, we would enjoy reading that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to suggest that we get ready to go to video number 3, which would be 3 of 3. And what we're going to do is take a look at Hunomics 3 and this notion of legacy. So let's catch us in the other video.